Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're having a great day today. So since I missed out in Christmas in July and am horribly behind on my Christmas cards, today you are getting a Christmas card video. So I'm going to show you how we use great ways to use layering stencils using this beautiful stamp set. This is the stamp set here. I think it was a release from last year from Simon Says Stamp in their Stamptember. So it might still be available. It comes with this beautiful poinsettia, and then it has several greetings plus some little pieces of greenery, things like that. But the really kicker that's also awesome, it comes with the die. Well, it doesn't come, I mean, you can buy just the stamp set, you can buy the dies. It also has layering stencils. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to show you how to make this card. Okay, so I'm going to put the sample aside and get started. Okay. So first of all, I have stamped my image onto some white cardstock. I used my stamp platform. I didn't need to. And I am using, I used Gina K Designs amalgam ink in the black color, which is, let me just double check, obsidian color, sorry, black, it's obsidian. Because I wasn't sure if I was going to be using the stencils or if I was going to be coloring. So of course, I use that ink if I'm never sure like what kind of medium I'm going to be using for coloring. So because I like to do a lot of stamping to begin with. So you get this really large image stamped out really beautifully, really happy with it. So today the colors, I'm going to do the same colors that I did in the first one, which was I used distress inks. I used Lumberjack Plaid, Candied Apple as my two reds, so the lighter color and then the darker color. And then for the greens, I have Rustic Wilderness and Twisted Citron, so lighter and then the darker. So I'm just going to put the greens to the side here first, and I'm going to pull out the stencils. So, and the trick with stencils is making sure that you are lining them up correctly. And as you can see, I've got like some of them still have red on them from when I use them. But you can kind of start to tell as you're going through. So this is the trick, right? Is making sure that you've got it lined up correctly. So I've got my image here. I'm going to take a little bit of tape. There's the tape. That's not the tape. I'm just going to do this here. A little bit like that so that my image isn't moving under my stencil, because I'm going to use my magnets for my stencil, but this way then I can keep it central here. Okay. And so what I want to now try and do is match up the spaces, like the open spaces. So you can see here where the open spaces are. So now I'm just going to match them up until I find the right kind of curvature. Now, some easy ways to do this is to look for items that have like differing kind of curvatures to them, things like that. Okay, so that one's not it. That one's not it. That one's not it. Now, sometimes the other thing that you have to do too is if you're never sure, perhaps you have your stencil upside down. That is also a possibility. Let's see here. Yep, I had my stencil upside down. So you can see here, all of this part now is masked off. Okay, and I'm just going to fiddle with it now just to make sure that I've got it kind of right where I want it. And I'm going to put my magnets down here just to hold my stencil. And I'm going to start with my lightest color. When I'm doing layering stencils and things like that, I like to start with the lightest color because I want to be able to put a darker color on top. So whatever's on the bottom, you know, if you look, in order to get the differing coloring shades, I need to have something that I can layer a darker color on. It's much more difficult to put a lighter color on top, right? So I'm going to start with my Candied Apple. I'm just going to give my red inking brush here a little bit of a wipe. I was using it earlier today for some fairly dark colors. Okay, so I'm going to ink up a little rub off onto my little lid there. And I'm going to start from the bottom and go out. And I don't need to put a ton of pressure onto the image here. So I'm kind of knocking my little magnet out of the way. So I can just shift that if need be. Put more ink up. And you're just basically going to color in the image. Okay. Now I could have, of course, colored this using alcohol markers. I could have used pencil crayons. I could have used watercolor. Yeah, like I could have stamped this and embossed it, like used embossing powder and created some really beautiful wells so that I could watercolor with it or use like a pixie powder kind of thing. That could happen too. It's kind of really nice. What's nice about for coloring on this kind of image is that because there is so much surface area on here, you could really work your light tones, darker tones. This would be a really great image to practice on. Okay, so I've got my first layer of color down. Now what I want to do is I'm going to come into the center, okay? We're using the same color, so still the candied apple. Okay? And now, starting in the center, I want to lay down a slightly heavier tone, okay? Because this is again how I'm adding shadows, depth, dimension to my image. Now the stencils will help, but this way, using just one color and the first layer of the stencil, I'm going to get some really beautiful dimension, right? So it's darker as we go into the center of the flower, which is what would happen with your light source, right? Like you can even see that on the camera there. So it looks darker into the center, getting lighter out onto the leaves where the light would be hitting, right? Okay, so now what I would like to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to give this a bit of a wipe, just so I'm not getting ink all over. And it doesn't necessarily matter on my stencil or where I've already colored. Just give that a bit of a wipe and put that. All right, look at that. Like that's beautiful, right? So we can already see the depth. So you can see how much darker it is here, going to the lighter in the center. And get a baby wipe. I want to give my pencil a bit of a wipe off here. So now, these distressed inks are a dye-based ink. Um, so dye-based is nice and easy. It should be quick drying. If you were to use, if I were to use a pigment ink, I would obviously have to let all of the layers dry in between and make sure that I give my stencil a really good wipe, right? Because pigment ink, again, sits on top of the cardstock. It would also cover up all of the lines and everything. So I would want to make sure that I was using a stamp platform so that I could put my image back in there to re-stamp all of the lines, because you want to make sure that you have that. Okay, so let's go to, I think this is the leaves. Shibata. Let's try matchy, matchy, matchy. And okay, 1, 2. So you see how I picked out this particular leaf has a very strong curve to it. So does this part here on the stencil. So that's the best way to try and match it up. And I'm just gonna kind of catch it on my tape there. Okay. All right, so I've got it lined up. Put that down. Now we're gonna go to, oops, let's close that. We're going to go to Twisted Citron. This is the lightest on the greens that I'll be using. And give myself a little, with my brush here, just a little wipe off of my microfiber towel. Okay, inking up. And kind of dabbing off into the lid, giving it a little bit, warming up the ink a little bit. And putting down some color. Had to do the first one as a practice because I wasn't sure. I don't think I've ever used a layering stencil before. I think this is the first one I've used. had my eye on this particular, because you guys know I don't do a ton of florals. However, I really do like a really nice poinsettia. Also like some peonies too, are my favorite. Peonies and tulips. And I've been eyeing some of the stencils and dies and embossing folders that are out there, particularly the Lisa Horton ones. Okay, so now I've got my base layer of the light green down. So now again, what I want to do is I've re-inked my blending brush here, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to darken it up just a little bit at the bases of the leaves because they're underneath the flower. So they're obviously going to be in a shadow, right? There we go. Okay, the lid on so we don't stick our elbows or anything in there. And we're going to give this a quick wipe with the microfiber first. Just going to take off some of that ink. And lift. There we go. Give it a bit of a wipe. Okay, so even for the base layer, look at that in the camera. That looks really good. Doing even a better job. It's nice when you play with your supplies because first time I did it, I was kind of just trying it out. Now I can add a bunch of, oomph to it, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the next layer that I want to add, this is going to be the kind of like the veins on the flower, like in the red. So now I need to find which flower is going to go where. I think this might be upside down again. Ooh, look at how quickly I found that one. Yep. Okay. So again, I want to make sure that my white areas are still covered. I want to make sure that all the leaves and everything I want. So make sure that everything is lining up. Okay. And you'll see here, this is a very flimsy part. So when I'm inking this, I want to make sure that I'm just coming straight down. I didn't want to have to add like pixie spray or anything to this. Shouldn't need to, but there are a few fine spaces here that I want to make sure that when I'm inking, I'm not doing circular motions. I'm just kind of dragging color this way. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go to the lumberjack plaid. Again, I'm going to give my brush just a little bit of a wipe. Now, if you didn't have another shade of red, what you could do is you could do another layer or two with the same color. So you could use candied apple. So you can do one layer of ink, two layers, ink, sorry, excuse me, 3 layers of ink, 4 layers of ink on each one as you're doing your different layers of the stencil because the ink will saturate to different levels. So you could do this and have a tonal or tone on tone look, but I do because I have a problem in terms of having too many supplies. I have a problem. And so I do have another color to use. So I'm going to use the other color. But if you don't, just use, if you only have the one color of red, that's fine. Just use the same red and just continue to layer your, continue to add on layers of ink. Okay. Okay, so adding on the lumberjack plaid. And again, like I said, I'm being very careful. You can see where this little stem or stamen or whatever, it's kind of like a light highlight is moving as I'm adding on the ink. So I'm wanting to make sure that I'm not um, rubbing my brush in a circular motion. I'm just kind of dragging it along the same area so that it's stationary. This one. Now, if you wanted, you could absolutely spray these ones with the little bit more of the fine detail. You could absolutely spray these with pixie spray or something like that if you really wanted to be able to get in there and move your brush around and stuff like that. But I'm actually finding this is not that complicated or difficult. So, well, complicated and difficult are the same words. So it's not that difficult to just draw my brush versus doing this kind of thing, right? These two leaves or flower petals, whatever you want to call them on a poinsettia. I think they're all leaves, aren't they? Like they're just differing colors. Isn't that how that works? I'm not sure. So, okay. Now, so I've added that layer. Now, again, I want to do the same thing. And along the very bottoms here, I want to bring in another layer of the ink in order to allow that to um, show that shadow underneath. Righty. And that one's going to go to the side now for a second. Yeah, with these. And again, when I'm wiping this, I also want to be quite careful to make sure that I'm also not ripping off those the little, whatever those things were that I needed to be careful of while I was while I was inking. I want to make sure that that's not being caught either, right? I'm liking it. Very nice, very nice. Just giving my stencil a little bit of a wipe here because that red is quite intense. There we go. Okay, now for layer 4, which is of course going to be the rest of the leaves. So let us, so this is this is the big leaf here. Yeah, no. Maybe this one like that. Let's see if we were upside down. And okay, that one fits pretty darn good. There we go. Still upside down. I must have taken the whole thing of the package, put them in one way and sat them down. Okay, so I've managed to line up everything, and you can see here that now the center seeds or whatever those stamens are or whatever on the poinsettia is now visible. So again, I'm going to come in with, no, I'm not. This is the second layer on the leaves. So now I'm going to come in with the rustic wilderness. And in the same way, you can see here, this one moves. I think that's the only one. So this one, I'm going to drag my ink this way so that I'm not taking a chance of breaking a particular stamen, whatever you want to call it. Leaf, highlight, well, whatever. So, and of course, because I'm using reds and greens, I am being careful to try, like it's not the end of the world if I get a little bit of brown, but I do want to be careful where I'm layering to try and make sure that I'm not like getting my brush isn't going underneath the, underneath the stencil, etc. I want to make sure to the best of my ability that I'm not getting that under there because, you know, red and green make brown. Okay, so now I'm just going in with that darker layer towards the center of the leaves or center of the flower. Adding in, bringing in a little bit more color, a little bit more shadow, a little bit more drama. Go. Okay, now let's put the lid on before, again, like I said, we put our finger in it. Right. Now, the nice thing with this particular one, now you could blend this right onto a card base. You don't have to cut it out. Like if you have a whole scene or you have something that you have planned or something like that, you don't have to use a die because maybe you don't have the die. Now, if you didn't want to buy the die set, also, you could also fussy cut this very, very easily. That would not be complicated at all. Excuse me. All right. Now for the last layers. So this is, of course, I have them all backwards. So let's try to this. I think that's got, see how much of a curve this white leaf here has? This one here has quite the curve to it. So let's try and line that up right there. This tape is in just the wrong spot. There we go. Okay. Now on this layer, if I wanted to, or what you could also do on the veins, like the areas where you've added the shadows kind of thing, be really cool. You could put, if you wanted to, you could put like a glitter paste through that. So ink it all up and then go back and do a glitter paste on top. So you could do a red or green or clear on just those highlighted areas. That would be really pretty as well. So here again, we're going to start with our lighter red, so the candied apple. Going to bring in not the brown brush or the green brush, the red one. Give it a bit of a wipe. There we go. To the side, and let's ink it. And we're going in. Inking up again, starting in the center, going out. Okay, now again, I do want to make sure that I'm getting, so I've got color all the way out, but I do want this center part to be nice and deep in the color. Just like, yeah, like that. Righty, and we're putting the lid back on. Okay, need a wipe. Oh, wipe with the baby wipe. Some of that ink off. Now, the other thing that I was thinking is how beautiful would these be? Like, because of course poinsettias, especially now, come in so many different colors. Like you can get them in pinks and burgundies, greens, blues. So you could do this in like purple and blue, or varying shades of pink and like a maroon color or something like that. That would be really beautiful. So this is the point that has the extreme hook on it. So let's line that up there. And there we go. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And giving our brush just a little wipe here. Going in for the lumberjack flat. And all of our the veiny, the highlight parts are all connected to the stencil. So I don't have to be quite as careful as I was with the bigger leaf and with the green, like with the bigger red portion and the green portion. So I don't have to be quite as careful, which is nice. Okay, so I think I've added that highlight there. And again, I want to ink up my brush and really want to intensify and deepen that shadow right in the center there. Okay. So this, I believe that we are done with the ink blending for now. So we're going to put that to the side there. I'll put this in, give it a wipe. Okay. Last wiping of the stencil. Great. That, get a little dry. There we go. Okay, look at that. That is gorgeous. I'm very happy with that. So I'm just going to put my tape pieces over here for now. And before I run that through my die cut machine, I'm going to give it a little bit of a chance to dry, and I'm going to work on our card base to start with, which is funny because I didn't bring out a card base, so I'll have to get the card base here to go. But look at how we have so many differing shades. Like we've got really nice and deep dark in here, so you can start to see some of the shades and highlights, which helps our 2D items start to look 3D. That's what we're looking to do, right? But that turned out beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to the side here, let that dry for a little bit. Now I've already worked out the sentiments, so which was in the stamp set as well. So there's a happy holidays, And then there's also this block Merry Christmas. I used the Merry Christmas that I had already done on the first one, on the example that I did. So I cut them out. So I stamped and then used the dies to cut them out. And then I cut out 3 more or 2 more as well. So this is 3 layers deep, just to give it a little bit of dimension, also some strength, especially because if you look at how thin this is, it's very thin and could be quite flimsy and a little bit challenging to use on a card, right? So let's grab a card base. Okay, so I am going to use I believe this is a 5 by 6.5. So let's just check that out on the, yeah, 5 by 6.5. Yes, excellent. Okay, and what I used for the bottom is just to give it a little bit of oomph and to kind of pop that off, because if you just look at this white, it's like, ooh, that's a lot of white. I used some 12 by 12. I cut down some 12 by 12 scraps. Actually, it wasn't a scrap, it was from some of my pattern paper that I have. And I thought, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use. What am I going to do for this? And then I was like, wait a minute, I have pattern paper. So let's do that. So this is just the opposite of the one that I had, right? So I had cut it down. So it's 5 inches this way. And then I think it ended up being like about 5 inches this way. I think it was almost square. And then I just cut it into a triangle. So this was the bottom half. This is the top. So now if I wanted, it's the same dimension. So I could recreate exactly the same thing here. You see, just like that. So I could have exactly the same, but let's change it up a little bit. So I'm going to do this at the top then instead. So let's make sure that I've got my card going the right way, which I do. I'm going to take some adhesive. And I just want to make sure that I am getting it right to the corners. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it close-ish to the corners. I'm going to turn this upside down just so that I can line up here. Now, if you wanted to, you could also like chalk the edges, like ink with black or brown, darken the edge or something like that if you wanted, but I don't think it's a necessity. Okay, did I do that right? I did do that right. Okay, pushing that down into place. Now, I knew that I wanted to do a strip of gold because I knew I was going to be adding these gold pearls into the center. So I wouldn't want to add, like just put my flower on top of here. Actually, let's cut out the flower now so that you can see as we're kind of playing around how this layout worked out. So again, we need to, I'm just going to put this to the side now. Now I need to figure out where this fits. Okay, yeah, that's pretty darn good there, right? So it's going to have a bit of an outline, which is okay. I don't mind it having a bit of an outline. It's going to have a little bit of white. So because I don't want this to move, because that's Murphy's Law, once you put your dies into your machine and whatever, I'm just going to tape this down with a little bit of this is scrapbook.com mint tape, and it's just awesome. And I'm going to use my Gemini Junior. It's quiet enough. I have a magic mat here. My Gemini Junior, and then just a Sizzix plate, not my Gemini Junior, Gemini Junior plate, and then the magic mat so that I don't have to replace my mats all the time. Those away. And yes, cut all the way through. Awesome. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel my tape. I'm going to put that back. So I use these little pieces of tape until they lose all their stick. So I mean, I've had now, when have I had this roll? I haven't even opened the second roll. I've had this for well over a year, and I still have this much left. Like there's still quite a bit left. So I use I get a lot out of it, and try to use their little pieces as much as I can. I put them either on my die cut machine or off on my little spin tower that's here beside me that carries all my supplies and whatnot. Pop that out and cut like a dream. So I don't misplace this. So I haven't gotten around yet to putting all the dies and everything onto a magnetic sheet and actually putting my stamp set away. That's gonna come, but I haven't gotten there yet. So now I knew, as I said, I knew that I wanted to put, so as you can see too, even this flower, like it's pretty big. It even comes off of a 5x7 card, 5x6.5 card. So, but that's okay because the envelopes are a little bigger anyways, and I'm gonna end up popping this up. But like this is okay on here, but it's a little plain, right? And when you're looking at Christmas things, you want them to be a little whoop whoop. So I knew I wanted to do a strip of gold because I was going to put gold pearls in the center on all of the little seed, stamen, whatever that thing is there. I don't know what that is. But so I was going through my scraps, and the only ones that I had like some that was long enough. I had this silver interference kind of one, like a holographic, or I had these ones, and I thought, oh, I'm looking for it to be. I know this is shocking to you all, but I'm looking for it to be a little more classy than this kind of shiny. That's not what I'm looking for. So what I did though, because I had these strips, what I did, because I had, oops, sorry about that, guys. I had forgotten about this technique because I can color this using an alcohol ink. So that's actually what I did. I just pulled out my alcohol ink marker in the yellow, and that's how I created this gold. So I'm going to show you that now, just so that you have an idea of what this looks like. So I'm starting out with this. So this is this shiny mylar. I'm sorry if that's blinding you on the, it's not mylar, it's cards, kind of like a cardstock, but it's that iridescent cardstock. But it is non-porous, which means I can color on it. Okay, so I'm going to take, these are my Ohuhu. That is just the funnest darn thing to say. So this is my new Ohuhu art markers. Well, they're not new. I got them last year for Christmas, but I've been playing with them. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to color it, running a nice bead of yellow along it here. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Doesn't much matter because I'm only going to be using 1/4 of an inch really. Okay, but this is going to give me my gold cardstock, gold, yellow, whatever. It'll be the same. So can you see the difference in the shades? Let me try and put that. Well, let me try putting it on some white. Maybe that'll help. Can you see? Can you see the difference there? Anyway, so I'm just going to give this a bit of a wave here. I feel like Harry Potter or something. Give it a wave, wave. And then I'm just going to wipe that up. So that was an alcohol ink marker. So because it was still wet, I could wipe it up with my baby wipe. But if I didn't, I'm using this is a glass surface, so it's non-stick and non-porous. So I would have been able to use like an alcohol swab or something like that. Blending solution, isopropyl alcohol, any of that would have taken. So I'm just going to bring in my little trimmer here. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm just going to eyeball. I'm not really caring about a particular measurement. Just want to have a slice. There we go. So I've still got a little bit left here that I can use. I'm going to put this to the side. And now I have my slice. What the heck happened there? Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can get that fixed. Oh, bugger. You guys are going to catch me in my grubby sweater here. Okay. There we go. That's better. See if I can get that back up there. Yeah, you're kind of going to be upside down. Let me see if I can change that. There we go. Sorry, that was weird. Did you guys notice if I hit something or something? That was weird. Let's go back. It was so much fun when I have camera problems. Yeah, not. Okay, let's get some light back on this situation. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little strip here and I'm going to run a bead of glue or adhesive. Well, no, we'll just call it glue. And I'm going to run a bead of adhesive right along this diagonal, just like that. And then I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to lay it up right against the strip of cardstock. Very, very simple. So if you don't have ribbon, I mean, you could do a piece of ribbon here if that's what you like to use. If you've got some sort of other ephemera or something like that. But if you don't, we all have cardstock. I know we all have cardstock. So this is a really easy way of utilizing some of your supplies, right? Cut it up, use it on a piece of card. This adds a nice little bit of festivity to the card front, the plaid, which I really liked. And then we can go in just from the back. We're just going to give this gold piece here just a little bit of a trim, like so. Okay, there we go. Let's throw those away. Now, card is still opening this way. Yes, good. Okay, so I'm going to get out my double-sided adhesive, my foamy tape. And I've got a small piece here from when I was cutting earlier. Do this. Okay, and we're going to go roughly there. So I want to try and cover as much of the back of the flower as I can. Right? I might not get all of the points, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to try and get as close as I can. You know, I want it to show up without hopefully having too many crushed points. Like if I'm putting this through the mail, I don't know who I'm sending this to yet or whatever, but I do want to make sure that as much as possible, it's going to look like it's supposed to look, right? So having those nice points. I'm gonna stick this in here. Stick this here. Like that. I think I need a couple more pieces there. So if you've got a large roll like this, so this is actually foam. I get this from a Dollarama, and which is a dollar store here in Canada, and it's photo mounting foam tape, and it's a little thinner in depth, so it's a little thinner, which I like, but it also is wide enough that I can cut it down quite easily as well, which is nice because I don't always like I can cut it in half very easily without having to worry too much about yeah, like it'll I don't even know what I was going to say there, but I can cut it down really easily. It's got a good dimension to it, like a good width. So a nice half of that can either cover a lot of space or a little bit of space. That's actually where I was going with that. I had a fun. I tell you, some days. There we go. Okay. So now I've got to pull all of these off. And I'm just going to pull them to the side here. Next one. There we go. Two more. Okay. All right. So now I can bring in my card. So I think I'm going to use this Happy Holidays because I quite like the delicateness of the Happy Holidays on there. Like, because I used the Merry Christmas on the other one, right? So I want to figure out how do I want the poinsettia, how do I want it to orient? And I do want, because I've got this nice strip of gold, I do want a lot more, and I'm going to put my sentiment up here on the red and black so that the white will pop off of there, right? So I do want to have the majority of my poinsettia down in the white space here. So kind of like that, okay? Okay, so that's lovely, right? Great start. So now let's trip those walls. And okay, all right, now these guys, like I said, I'm not going to put any foam tape behind them or anything like that. They've already got 2 layers to them. Sorry, that's not quite true. There's 3 layers here. Oh, nice to be able to do that. But I turned that just a little bit. Well, bugger. Okay, happy holidays. So what we might have to do is do happy holidays. So what do we think of that? What do we think? What do we think? Yeah, I'm not happy with that. We could do, oh, maybe we have to do it over here. Levels. I like it over here. So maybe what it's going to be is it's going to look like that. Yep. that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to pick these up, well, one at a time. I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to add adhesive behind them. And then last step is going to be adding some jewels to it. And I'm just going to hold that for a second, just let that adhere like that. And then one. And again, I'm just using this is the glue press by My Sweet Petunia, handy dandy little thing. And I've refilled the bottle with Barely Arts glue, which is the one that I like to use. I think that it flows really nicely, but holds really nicely as well. Okay, is that straight? That's not straight. Try and make your sentiment straight. If you don't, it's okay, because it's, handmade, no homer. That's all right. But try and give it a go there. All right. Okay, so that's the base of our card. I'm gonna go that way. Well, my camera angle's all boogered. But now the only other thing that I want to add is I'm going to add some gold bubbles. So I have these flat back pearls that are gold colored. And I'm going to grab my jewel picker tool here because I want to add some gold into the center of the poinsettia. This. And I'm going to do one of the bigger ones in the center. The big, not the big ones. There we go. Now I'm going to pick up all these little guys and surround this guy. And go. Okay. All right. So I'm really happy with how that looks, right? Like, look at how nice. Okay. And then, but I do want to bring up a little bit of the gold up here. Okay. So to do that, what I think I want to do is do like this. And then, this guy's a slightly smaller. Turn that over. Okay. Put that right there. I'm going to try and do like a bit of a triangle here. And, but I got to find the same weight of bigger, smaller. Oh, I think I can do the other size. The other size there. Yeah, kind of like that. That way then, because it's a little off center, kind of like it. What do you guys think? All right. So before I go and sneeze and drop all of these, like I did in that that one video, I'm going to put the lid on and put them back in. These little triangle trays are really handy. You can get them from Simon Says Stamp and other places as well, but they're very handy to, because they have that nice point on them. It's really easy to point. You put your jewels and everything back into your container that you got them from. Do a boot there, little adhesive there, and a little stuff will go up there. Okay, we'll put this away. And that is going to be our card. So we've got 2 today. Well, not 2. I completed this one. This was the example that I did. But here's what it's gonna, so the glue, the Barely Arts glue will dry clear. You can see there, like at the center of the poinsettia, you don't see any of the adhesive that's there. You can still see it in this one right here, but that's okay. So there we go, folks. 2 Christmas cards. Check, check. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed learning, seeing how to use the embossed stencils, or sorry, not the layering stencils. Ooh, look at the difference though of how much shadow and light I got. So this was the first one that I did while I was learning how to use it and kind of playing with it. But because I did lighter tones, lighter and darker, look at how much more alive. Like to me, this flower looks like more real coming off of the page kind of thing. So really cool. Anyway, if you have any questions, would like any more information, please leave your comments down below. Remember, keep them kind, please. Share with your friends, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. You all take care. Bye-bye.